started. Does anyone want to get out?
Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is Nick from the Phoenix Press. Joining me, as always, is the usual DK crew. First off, we have Bond Girl hater Jared Lucy. How you doing?
How am I a Bond Girl hater? Wait a second here. Wait a second here.
For England, James? No. For me.
Wait. Nick woke up there and chose violence, ladies and gents. You might as well have just said Lois Lane lover to me.
Well, the thing is, what you don't know about me, Jared, is that
because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War, whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
all right,
Okay.
and then next we have is our resident Bond girl. We got this.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
All right, we got Nyx. How you doing, girl?
Pretty good.
All right, and then last and certainly not least, we have our two bros. We have Forrester. How you doing, man?
What's up?
What is up? And then we have our tech expert. I'm saying this because he's Asian, because I'm being racist here, Chris.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god! I wish I had dug
And
up
this channel's about to be taken down in 3, 2, 1.
I mean, if I really want to take down the channel, I'll just play this clip.
Man talk.
You know,
It
funny
was
about that
fantastic.
clip, one time I was testing out a Blu-ray player and I put my Goldfinger Blu-ray in and I was talking about the picture quality and I was in a room full of people and I was saying like, wow, when it's in this HD quality, you cannot tell when this was made. And just as I said, that is when he said man talk.
So I guess you could say you got gold-fingered.
Oh, jeez.
All right, so let's start this off with what does Bond mean to us? So we're gonna go around here, and we're all gonna talk about what the Bond franchise goes to us, and we'll start at the bottom and we'll work our way up. So, Chris, what does Bond mean to you?
I would say that Bond represents, or I should say Bond represented, because the last film kind of killed it for me. But Bond represented kind of the quintessential action hero guy who, you know, it's clearly it's a boys franchise. It's for men. It's for boys. And it's, you know, being of British descent, it was definitely in heavy rotation in the household.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even my Irish neighbors next door loved James Bond. And, you know, they say, oh, it's a relic, it's a dinosaur. But no, it's what we need. You know, like a weak man is, or I should say, a man that can't defend himself is not a man of peace. He's a pussy. You know, a violent man who chooses not to be violent.
Would you say he's a pussy galore?
Yeah,
I would play I actually did have that clip, but the sound didn't work. So like, yeah.
The look on his face.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like
I love this clip because he's just like, of course, like,
Oh my gosh.
oh,
Yeah,
this is gonna be good.
I
tell.
loved the you know, I think my favorite ones were kind of the newer, not necessarily the newest ones, but like from Pierce Brosnan. Like I loved that era.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So, Forrester, as being the whole reason we're doing this here in the first place, what does Bond mean to you?
Well, pretty much everything he already said.
Hey, Master Sergeant.
I think Bond also is kind of he's our kind of ideal, or at least kind of used to be, what everyone wants to be, the suave hero that, I'm not good.
Men want to be him, women want to be with him.
Thank you. And in the present day, as real life people start to become a lot more like Bond villains, he kind of is a catharsis for our collective frustrations. Of, he's the guy who shut down easy bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, is Jeff Bezos not a real life Blofeld?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I say. We live in a world with Bond villains and no Bond.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, like Elon Musk literally is a Bond villain.
Basically.
Like I would not be surprised if Elon Musk had a Moneypenny. Oh, that's a character we're going to talk about. But like I would not be surprised if Elon Musk has a castle with like sharks with lasers. Like that's just like if you told me Elon Musk had that, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right.
I also got to point out the female, the women in them, which to people who don't know the franchise, that sounds oxymoronic and like I'm being sarcastic, but I am literally not. Like back, especially in the early 60s, depicting women as intelligent and capable and deadly was
Grace
not
Kelly.
the norm. Well, it's dialed to the extreme in James Bond. There were good examples, and you certainly had like the femme fatale and film noir. James Bond took them more into a more physically dangerous,
Yeah.
Like
Like,
if
you
he's
didn't
the
have the
super
damn-
spy, but they could, they were a possible tangible threat to him and were very much his equal.
Yeah, and I think like it starting in like the Pierce Brosnan era, they really the Bond girls got a lot better. Even starting in GoldenEye, like even though she's more of like the damsel, she still talks back. She still sasses back. Like my favorite line from her is the GoldenEye's like, "Stop! You're like boys with toys."
I agree with that, but I'd say they'd always. I mean, like the very, very first one in Dr. No, she pulls a knife on him, and she was raised on this island and didn't go to school. But
wait. You mean burp?
Yeah.
Yep. And but she had memorized the encyclopedia instead of going to school. Like they never did the dumb bimbo type that was common in other fiction at the time.
Yeah, like sure they swoon over him, and sure there are some problematic scenes. I really shouldn't have used that word, but like there are some scenes that
And we're about to be canceled by the conservative side of the internet.
guys.
Man, we are getting hammered on both sides.
That's how you know it's good.
It's not a Phoenix Press stream if you're pissing off both sides. If you're not pissing off both sides, we have not done our job.
It's not a Comics League stream if you're pissing off anyone. Actually, no. I will piss off the Lois Lane fans for fun. That's fun.
Oh.
Don't like my politics. Don't buy my book.
Okay.
I would say there were some stupid parts with female characters at some points in the movies, but no more stupid than some of the other technological things that shouldn't work, or how did Oddjob survive what should have been lethal hits. There's a lot of stuff that like you just roll with it because it's a movie. So I don't think it's particularly worse in terms of implausibility to its female characters than it was to its male.
Yeah.
But compared to the contemporary fiction at the time, it was leaps forward.
But I don't.
We will be getting into the Bond girls kind of in the later section. I don't want to kind of go too. I'm trying to at least have some structure to this part.
Oh, I agree. I'm sorry. I'll get off that, but that's
no, it's fine. It's fine. You're good.
The real life Bond villains, female representation, and I guess everything else the first guy had said. So that was what he means to me. We can pass the floor.
It's about time they got the franchise back up and running. But so, Nix, what is your history with the Bond franchise?
I'm very young, so my history with it has mostly been watching it with my grandparents. My
So
grandmother used to love these movies. Her second husband did as well, and my grandfather loves these movies.
yeah, the Bond franchise is certainly something that crosses generations. I mean, the franchise has existed for 50 years, so it's kind of inevitable that the franchise has crossed generations. And I think like the lasting appeal of Bond is that it does kind of adapt to the times. I wouldn't say change with the times, but it more adapts to the times at hand. And I think that kind of any franchise that lasts this long does that.
Come on, Nick. You can go ahead and say all the buzzers. You can say it updates for the modern audience.
Oof, and that's why it died.
He's trying to find the hate clip right about now.
So what you're saying, what they do, so what you mean in a modern movie, they literally tell Bond.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War, whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
By the way, that was in 1996, so
Yeah, that was when the disease started.
So
Yeah,
Jared,
but Judi Dench is still cool. Like,
yeah,
I don't feel that was totally agenda in that scene. I feel like she's kind of feeling him out, seeing if she can get under his skin or not. She's testing him.
Plus,
Yeah,
she's,
like, you
she's
gotta
establishing dominance because remember, she is his direct superior.
yeah, like you gotta kind of watch that scene in its full context. You gotta realize this was the first Bond film in 6 years, so this was kind of the Bond franchise reestablishing itself. Like, for example, the scene right before this was the Moneypenny scene. Like, you had that the Moneypenny of the Brosnan era, kind of doing like they're basically they had to reestablish Bond with GoldenEye, because remember they had like that lawsuit, and GoldenEye was actually supposed to be a Dalton film. That's why GoldenEye feels so different from the rest of the Brosnan films, because originally a Dalton script.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, so Jared, what's your opinion on Bond?
So the way I got into the franchise is my dad was like really into it, and he would show me all the movies. My favorite was Brosnan up until I saw the Daniel Craig movies, and I was like, yeah, this dude's badass. And the funny part about James Bond is that this is also the time that I got into Call of Duty, so I could identify all the guns in the movies. I felt very accomplished. That's my nerd moment. I actually played a few of the games, and they were actually really fun.
Oh yeah, we will be getting into the Bond games here shortly.
My favorites are, and I agree with Chris, it's like Brosnan, anything from Brosnan and on, unless you get to the last movie, then it's totally fine. The last movie was a travesty.
Yeah, I honestly, like the last two movies, like Spectre and No Time to Die, I wasn't the biggest fan of.
It was too long, Spectre, first off.
And Javier Bardem, yeah.
I don't know, like Spectre had some good parts. I think Christoph Waltz was a great Blofeld.
Oh yeah.
The problem with Spectre is the Bond girl. Like, no hate against the actress, but her and Daniel Craig had no chemistry.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm supposed to believe that she is Bond's endgame. Like, they're supposed to be like this madly in love. I don't know. It's just ice cold between them, and especially bad when you have literally the best Bond girl ever.
I'm the money.
Every penny of it.
Hey, I didn't know Poison Ivy was in a James Bond movie.
I see what you did there.
There you go.
So there are two types of people: those who believe Vesper Lynn is the best Bond girl ever, and those who are wrong. Let me explain.
Who are these people?
I don't know. I've never met them. So the thing I love about Vesper, especially that scene, is she establishes herself as Bond's intellectual equal. Like, they have the sparring match, and I love the scene because it has like kind of like we're talking, but there's kind of a conversation happening under the conversation. Like, my favorite line is, how's the lamb? And he says, skewered. One sympathizes. Like, I love those like conversations under conversations, and it's just like, it's like at the end of the scene, he looks at her and he's like, this is where my love affair with Eva Green started.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Yeah, I agree with you. She is my favorite Bond girl because, to your point, Nick, the way she goes back and forth with Craig, yeah, they had chemistry. If only they didn't kill her in one movie.
Well, oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, if you've read the books, Daniel Craig's interpretation of Bond from Fleming's novels is probably the most accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Bond was not particularly a genius. He was charming, but he was kind of a brute. And it would make sense that there would be a foil, an intellectual foil, because he wasn't the smartest character. That's what made
to
Bond
quote
so
James
badass.
Bond, sometimes the trigger needs to be pulled.
Yeah, he was the knife of the government. He was MI6's like
he was their Batman.
Yeah,
So
he was. Yeah.
So what you're saying is,
this never happened to the other fella.
Yeah, like the when we first saw Connery in the films, a lot of people, like, even though Connery is one of the most beloved Bonds out there, he is antithetical to Bond. If you read the books, like Daniel Craig in Casino Royale is like, that is Bond. Like the scene where the guy's like all parkouring and stuff, doing all these things, and Bond just like runs
He'll go through the wall. I love that.
That's Bond.
Or even
my
better,
favorite,
where like they throw the gun at him, he catches it, and he just throws it right back
or
at
my
him.
favorite is when he's driving the bulldozer at the guy as he's shooting him, and the bullets are going through the glass, and he's just standing there like this, calm. He's like not even reacting to the fact that he's being shot at. That's when I was like, this dude is badass.
That's Bond. Like,
and it's like, it's like the one-liners, like, where have you been? Enjoying death.
Or like where it was even a simple thing when they implant him with the tracker, he just goes, ow. I love that. Or wait, when he picks up the dude's wife and he goes, why'd you come back to my hotel room? And she goes, is it close? It's pretty close. He just drives her around the block because it's not the exact same hotel. That was so good.
Yeah, Casino Royale is definitely one of the best ones.
It is one of the best ones, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like the problem with the Daniel Craig films is Casino Royale, one of the best films ever. Quantum of Solace, it's kind of a meh movie. And Skyfall is amazing. Skyfall is a great movie, and then it kind of goes down further. But also, Daniel Craig films kind of have a problem. It's like James Bond just starting out. You're too old.
Yeah.
and like the whole like, oh, you're too old for this kind of thing. It's like they do that for 3 movies. It's like if you're just starting out, which is fine, cool. And it's like by Quantum of Solace, he is Bond. And then but literally the next movie, Skyfall, you're too old, Bond. It's like kind of a whiplash.
Yeah, the thing is like there's no like indicator of time, of how much time has passed in between these movies. So it's like, it's practically like after Quantum, the day after, you're too old, Bond.
Yeah.
Were you expecting an exploding like the Q of the Daniel Craig era? He's kind of abrasive at first, but the more you
I love that Q. I love that Q.
It's like, need I remind you, Bond, that I have a cat to feed. Like, it's just like
I love where he's like, what would you prefer, an exploding pen?
Yeah.
And I feel like the Daniel Craig era did a really good job of like, they did some changes, but they made it work. Like they made Moneypenny black, and also but it kind of works because also Moneypenny was like I think the Moneypenny from the Craig era is the best because she was an active agent and like they have that flirting, and she's kind of like not necessarily Bond's equal, but like she's worthy of being with him in the field. And like,
plus they picked a very likable actress to play Moneypenny. That was the other thing. It's not like casting Brie Larson to play Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and also like the fact they made Q gay. It's like it's kind of like an aspect of his character, but it's not like focused on. Like okay, it's like okay, he was gonna have a date with a guy. It's like, but they don't really focus on it. Like if anybody else would be like, oh, he's gay, like, you know. But I don't know. It's just the subtlety of it. I appreciate.
If it were written by modern writers, he would a Q would be coming on to Bond constantly.
Or be making out with his boyfriend.
Flashy way possible.
Yep.
And, or like the best one of the best ones ever was Going with Solace, where it's like he's getting interrogated and like the
leg thing.
Like, what makes you think this is my first time? Because it's done in a way it's like he's resisting the interrogation, so it's like okay, that works.
Well, yeah, because I think one of the things I've read they teach you in SEER school, and that's the training you go through to like resist interrogation, is say stuff. Don't give away any information. Give away stuff that like essentially keeps you alive, but it doesn't give away too much. But also say stuff that like throws them off.
So yeah, the walls of my secret base are painted blue, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, my favorite line when he's being interrogated, he's trying to throw him off, is when he's being whipped and they go, "I have an itch."
Yeah. Oh my god, I actually had that clip. I love that.
That's a good one. He's like, "No, a little more to the left, a little more to the left."
So it's like the only thing you got out of me is to just scratch my balls. Like I love it. And so let's talk about what are our favorite Bonds. So this is a bit of a, you know, some people might be kind of controversial with this one. So what are your guys' favorite Bonds?
Well, so for me, you mean like so it's a hard thing to ask because the actors that played Bond, in my opinion, were kind of a separate thing from like the movies themselves, because some of these actors were amazing as Bond, but the movies they were in kind of sucked, and vice versa, where like I absolutely despised Roger Moore as Bond. He turned it into a comedy, which really sucked for me, but he had some of the best villains like Jaws and Hervé Villechaize there, where he stuffed him in a suitcase.
Christopher Lee is a Bond villain, I think, in one of his films.
Count Dooku.
Yep. Well,
so in a way,
Christopher Lee was friends with Ian Fleming.
So in a way, you know what's
funny?
No.
No. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it properly. Christopher Lee and Ian Fleming actually worked in this Okay. You have no idea how deep it is. So Christopher Lee and Ian Fleming actually worked in the same office during the war, and there is some speculation that Christopher Lee himself is the inspiration for James Bond.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I mean, remember Peter Jackson when he was telling him that is not the sound a knife makes when it sinks into the torso of a man.
I'm sorry, Christopher Lee is
what
like
do
the
you
most.
say at that? Someone says that. I was like, okay.
It's like I would know because I've been stabbed. He's literally been.
Yes.
So as we're saying, so in a way you could say Dr. Fate and Count Dooku have both been in Bond movies.
Yep.
That's the crossover no one really thinks so.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I guess I would say written wise, I think Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond. Actor wise, it would be a really, really, really hard toss up between the one film that Lazenby was in, Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Sean Connery. Only because
can we just talk about Lazenby for a second? Because like the entire story about how he became James Bond is almost a Bond film in and of itself. He was an Australian model that like basically rizzed his way onto becoming James Bond. Like he basically like it is so we got some good stuff going. All right, cool. If you can full screen it if you can. But yeah, like and when he told them that he was not an actor, they literally said, "You fooled us." Like and the thing is, like, he did one James Bond movie, and like Her Majesty's Service was actually a success. They wanted him to come back.
But,
they did. He didn't. And also like the whole like him wearing a goatee to the premiere was like this big like F you to the producers.
He was kind of an activist for his day, and he pissed off a lot of the people. And he's the only non-British James Bond. Like Yeah,
Right?
I mean, to be non-British in a British institution is that's a feather in your cap.
So
You know what I would love? I would love to see Bond with facial hair. Like a bearded Bond.
So there's really only two things you need to be Bond. You need to be British, and you need to be a guy.
Mhm.
Because people have been like clamoring for like a female James Bond, and the problem is it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a guy's property. Like
there
Do you really think they care, Chris? Though.
Yeah, they've destroyed every male property, like every targeted.
I mean, to be fair, there has been attempts to to spin it off. Let me see if I all right.
Well, I was about to say Catwoman was also in a DC and a James Bond movie.
Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but Die Another Day was kind of a backdoor pilot for a Jinx film. Like they were really trying to get a Jinx film going.
Well, beyond that, Gal Gadot, when she was promoting Heart of Stone, was asked if she ever considered what she would think about a female James Bond. She actually said, "No, let the guys have their projects, and we can make our own original characters."
Yeah, literally, Heart of Stone is a female James Bond movie.
It pretty much is, yeah.
Or Atomic Blonde. I'm sorry, but Atomic Blonde is a female James Bond movie, and I actually really like it. I know some people don't really talk about it, but it is a really good movie. And I will not shut up about that movie. And the thing is, you can have a black James Bond. Like, Idris Elba would be a great James Bond. You know.
Please, God, yes, let that happen.
See, I would strongly disagree, mainly because Fleming did a really good job describing Bond in his books, and he's your Sterling Archer. He's your you know what I mean. And Daniel Craig was the first one that actually got it close.
By the way, if you want a Idris Elba led black James Bond story, you go play Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Yeah,
or you don't, because not everyone's a dweeb. But
no, what I'm saying is because Idris Elba plays Solomon Reed, which is basically black James Bond.
But the other thing is oh gosh,
I'm canceled.
Hey, excuse me. Can I point out something in GoldenEye right here?
What?
This is one of my favorite Easter eggs. It's the no James Bond sign over the door. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
The other thing, the part that really annoys me, and this is not an issue really with the game, it's more of the way games write guns. It's called suppress, not silence.
Yeah, it's not a cat fart that comes out of
No one says silence in the military. Stop it.
Wait, so you're saying No Country for Old Men lied to me?
Yes.
By the way, that's a great movie.
Every movie that says silenced or clip is incorrect.
Yeah. The only gun that had a clip, wasn't it the Garand or whatever?
It was the M1 Garand because it was made in a clip. Everyone else is a magazine.
Yep.
Also, ping.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, exactly. That was the clip.
Oh my God. Jared, if we ever get to shoot guns, I want to shoot an M1 Garand just so I can have the ping.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. So for me, Pierce Brosnan was my childhood Bond. But I gotta say, Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond because I just feel like the Pierce Brosnan films are good. And I do love Sean Connery, but Daniel Craig is just the one that I just find them the most entertaining and whatnot.
He's the closest to the books.
Again, just the way he when the dude's parkouring just goes through the wall, and I'm like,
yeah,
you could do that. You could do that in the Casino Royale game.
Nice.
Kind of a funny thing about the Pierce Brosnan James Bond. That was one of the movies that I remember watching at earliest. So, and then my grandmother took me to watch Mamma Mia in the theater.
Oh my God.
So all I could think was, why the hell is James Bond in this movie?
It's a secret crossover no one knew about.
Or
You
it's
expect me
or
to
even
talk?
worse.
No, I expect you to sing.
Try being me. Okay, I'm 8 years old.
In
I saw Gold,
1912.
and I saw Goldeneye, and then my parents they take me to the theater. See, let's go see Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh,
And then
again,
what-
that's another crossover.
like what is James Bond doing being mean to Robin Williams?
Because that's his target, Nick. Again, we have to weave all these movies together. Because Nick and I
Oh
have
my
weaved
God.
together to the point where Gal Gadot is secretly Wonder Woman during the Fast and the Furious movies, and that's how she survived falling from a plane at 90 miles an hour.
Okay, Jared, if you're gonna do it, okay. So basically, what we did is when in our Hearts of Stone review, we basically had a pretty solid solid fan theory that Giselle is actually the woman from Hearts of Stone because the timelines actually match up really well.
And then you find out she's secretly Wonder Woman the entire time. And she goes, "Oh wait, something's happening in Metropolis."
Yeah, because like it's actually like the timelines of like, oh, she's Giselle. Oh, she's not Giselle anymore. But then she's the Hearts of Stone. Like and then she's not. Then she goes back to being Giselle. Like the timelines match up really well.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a pretty solid fan theory, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Now the thing is, what you could say is that Daniel Craig. So with Daniel Craig's Bond, before he became James Bond, he was in that movie Logan Lucky. So he was technically a race car driver. That explains his car driving skills.
And also the thing that explains. I'm sorry, I'm trying to connect this to Tomb Raider because like he was in the Tomb Raider movie.
Well, he was doing that, and that's where he received his that's where he tried acrobatics, but then he decided, oh screw it, I'm just gonna go through a wall.
He also tried an American accent and failed at it in that movie.
And the other thing is, what you don't know is that in like Diamonds Are Forever, the reason why James Bond is able to like surf that way is because he's secretly Dr. Fate.
Also, I gotta give a shout out to one of my favorite shows, Penny Dreadful. Anybody who knows Penny Dreadful knows what I'm about to say. What I love it is so the lead is Vesper, Eva Green, but you want to know who the mentor of that is? Timothy Dalton. So you have a former Bond and a Bond girl in the same show. I just love it. So Chris, who are some of your favorite Bonds?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, I from an actor perspective, it would be a really hard for me to toss up between Lazenby's portrayal in Her Majesty's Secret Service and Connery. I loved the Brosnan films, and of course, like I was saying, like Daniel Craig is probably the closest to the way that Ian Fleming wrote him. I shouldn't. Let me rephrase that because like Casino Royale, Daniel Craig is how Fleming wrote him.
Also, I got to do this. I'm sorry, Dave. It ain't that kind of stream love.
Yeah.
There's your answer, Dave. There's your answer.
Yeah. Do you want me to fake my? You want me to drop my fake American accent? I speak British the whole time.
I'm sat on a turtle.
But yeah, like you know, like I was saying earlier, though, like the Connery was antithetical to the actual way it was written. But like, in my opinion, that remake of Casino Royale, that was like chef's kiss perfect. Like that was so badly needed.
So you're talking the one that came out in 2006 or the one that came out in the 60s?
Yeah, exactly. There were three, but Daniel Craig's rendition of Bond was so perfect in my opinion. They're like, and it's funny because people who've never read the books are like, this is not Bond. What the hell is going on? Bond's supposed to be all like debonair and shaken, not stirred.
See, I've actually only read a couple. Like, I've only really read 2 Bond books. I have read Casino Royale, I read like one of the ones from like the 80s. That's like, you know, but like Casino Royale, it's actually pretty close. But like they do take some liberties. Like the Casino Royale actually starts at the casino. Like the whole, like there's like the whole first hour is kind of original. and I really do appreciate that.
Same
So
here.
you're mentioning George Lazenby. So before, like, yes, actually, Dave, I do agree. Kingsman is probably the most loving James Bond parody. Like, it's kind of like earnest in its love for, like, they literally talk about James Bond in the movie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we're going to be covering the Kingsman series on Jared's channel as part of March Millar Madness.
Hey, I just wanted to say one thing about the Casino Royale book. Part of why they had to add to it, but this is what's cool about it, is the whole
It's
spy
literally this
genre was
Yeah,
it's literally this thick.
Yeah, but the whole spy genre was so new that Fleming was kind of creating a new genre in real time. That's why it opens with basically detective tropes. You know, your main character was essentially a sleuth, and there's a casino and gambling and people trying to kill him. But this could have been a Bogart movie in Vegas or something. It wasn't.
So, Forther, who is your favorite Bond?
I'm actually partial to brain fart. Why?
You're partial to the
just
brain
went out
fart
of my
Bond.
head. Pierce Brosnan.
Okay. Who's the brain fart Bond?
No, I'm sorry. That just happens to me. I'll forget the wrong things at the weird moments. Maybe it's Zelda Principle because he's the one I saw first. But also
Zelda Principle?
Zelda was James Bond?
No, it's a.
What timeline are we in? Did we just cross
No, it's a
timelines
slang
here?
term for whichever
Barry, what
one
did you
play
do?
first is best because it was your first exposure.
Oh,
go to the light, Caroline. Oh, sorry, Zelda.
Okay, so for those who don't get the reference, they're the joke that, like, whatever Zelda you play it at 12 years old is the best Zelda game ever in your opinion.
And in next case, whichever one you play on a stone tablet.
Those things had amazing graphics, Jared. Those stone tablets, like screw OLED. I'll take a stone tablet any day.
Okay, then go outside and glue together a bunch of rocks. You have any piece of device you need.
But also, it's not just Zelda
will.
Principle. I also I like Brosnan because it's the kind of the perfect in between. He's the last classic Bond before Craig, before they kind of reintroduced everything.
Oh, the things we do for frequent flyer miles.
But it is modernized writing. It's not quite as clunky as some of the 60s stuff, but they hadn't gone full modern either. It's got this nice little balance, and it's also the last time they used the Cold War setting.
GoldenEye is literally a movie that could only have been made in the 90s because, like, the plot is so intrinsically 90s, like this post-Cold War, like Russia still trying to find its footing on the world stage. Like, people forget what kind of, like, the state that Russia was in that time. It was insane.
Still gotta give Connery a shout out, as he's the only Bond that's actually trained as a commando, and he's the one that met Ian Fleming. Like, he still basically gets the position as the most official. I don't think the
Dave,
can be
if you want to watch a Henry Cavill led James Bond movie, you need to watch
Argyle.
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
But if he worked
that is a
as
James Bond movie.
That would be great because if this happens, Henry Cavill will have played Superman, Geralt the Witcher, James Bond, and a Warhammer Space Marine.
No, but the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
And the Highlander.
And the Highlander.
No, but like literally, Man from U.N.C.L.E. is literally a James Bond film. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If they could get Cavill, because again, going by the books, like James was jacked, like he was a thug.
That's Cavill.
That's Henry. Yeah, I give it to him, man.
Yeah, he could do the role.
And he could do suave. See, the thing about Cavill is that he can do both of the brute and the suave.
Yep.
Thing is, I hear like the next one they're thinking about having it be a period piece, which Henry Cavill still would like. I'm sorry, Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's
a period piece.
Yeah, that was a '60s film. Yeah.
Like, by the way, if you have not seen Man from U.N.C.L.E., you really need to see it. It's great. It's
really
a Guy Ritchie. It is a Guy Ritchie film, so you know you're getting it, and yeah, it is a James Bond film. But yeah. So funny thing about like I don't know if you heard the story about like Pierce Brosnan. He almost took over in the '80s, but like he was doing the show called Remington Steel, But the Remington Steel people, once they heard that, they basically like, oh, we're going to enact this clause in our contract and let's just do a third season. Oh, by the way, a year later, we'll space it out. So they basically screwed him over. Like they wanted him to be Bond in the 80s. Like then they did Timothy Dalton's movies. And there was kind of like this lawsuit in like the late 80s, early 90s. And it got settled. And then by the time we were going to do GoldenEye, they were actually going to have Dalton return as James Bond, but they wanted to lock him in for like a long-term contract. Like Dalton would have come back for like one more film, but he didn't want to do like 4 more films. So that's why they did Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, people actually were
this would
protesting
be really
in the
good.
street with signs and were like, "Don't steal," spelled Steele, like the show, our Bond. But Dalton ended up being good, but nevertheless, people were like really mad about that because the Remington Steel.
Yeah, and then and so like the Die Another Day is kind of like this really weird film where
I just want to point that out when people say like, "Oh, well, no one ever complained about the casting when it's men."
All the
Timothy
time.
Dalton was literally picketed.
Well,
Yep.
no one complains.
I mean, do you remember the
wait,
hate?
No one ever complains about a casting when it's man. Have you seen the backlash when like Keaton was cast as Batman?
Yeah, dude.
Or
Daniel
Ben
Craig.
Affleck?
Daniel
Yep.
Craig as Bond. Bond is not blonde.
Actually, I believe he
is.
was described that in the book. He was
like,
a big
David
Jack
Craig-
blonde dude.
Yeah, but Daniel Craig actually did get a lot of pushback when he was casted.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like Dino, hey Keely, how you doing?
Hey.
So Die Another Day, I think they went too far, and like Die Another Day is honestly kind of a Roger Moore movie almost, and I think they realized while Die Another Day was still successful, like okay, that's too far, and they basically rebooted the franchise because you got to realize from Dr. No to Die Another Day is one continuity. It is literally one continuity because they do have actors.
And they reference like Bond being married in a few of the movies. So
Yeah, like the whole. But can we address the whole Bond as a code name fan theory? Because it's really kind of stupid. Because I feel like the theory kind of originated from this moment.
This never happened to the other fella.
And the thing is, like for example, Bond in Her Majesty's Service, he gets married.
Nick, can you kick me out of the stream a minute? I've gotten frozen in a screen here.
Okay.
Release the band hammer.
Oh, I just looked it up. Bond was not blonde in the books.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So-
I thought
so
he
yeah.
was for some reason. Huh.
But yeah, so like the fan theory is like Bond is a code name, and it really doesn't make any sense because in the Roger Moore era, he actually does visit the grave of his wife from Her Majesty's Secret Service, basically, and then in Skyfall he goes to the Bond estate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the whole
So
007 was supposed to be the code, not the name.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, going back to like so they decided to do Daniel Craig and be like, all right, so actually we're gonna do like the first Bond film, and we're not gonna do like the excuse for getting rid of Pierce Brosnan was, oh, it wouldn't make sense to have Pierce Brosnan here because of the timeline. And then but they had Judi Dench, and literally they were like, screw the timeline.
Yeah. The timeline is not sacred according to James Bond.
But I will say, Judi Dench in the Daniel Craig era worked really well. Like I think, like she was great in the Pierce Brosnan era, but I think she really came into her own in the Daniel Craig era. I think her character, her whole thing was yeah. All right, here we go. But yeah, so yeah, like I don't know. Let's kind of transition to Bond games as Forrester is playing. So obviously, the one that we all know is GoldenEye. So what are your guys' memories of this game? Jared, since you were born yesterday, obviously you haven't played this game.
I played the remake of it, which I enjoyed.
Which you mean the one for the Wii?
The one for the Xbox 360.
Oh, yeah.
I also had the collection that had a bunch of other games. Plus, there were a few games that were just original stories with the Daniel Craig Bond, which are actually really fun.
Oh, actually, I want to comment on Dave Impaler. So there's a fan theory that the film The Rock is actually a James Bond film. Here's my headcanon. The Rock is a James Bond film, but it's an alternate timeline where they never made any films past the ones that work for the film. Because if you actually line it up with some of the Bond films, it actually kind of does work as a James Bond film. You know, because like he actually gets captured in some of the Bond films. And like, yeah, I think there's actually a Bond film where he's escaping from Alcatraz, one of the films. So like, it's a viable theory, but you've got to like put it in an alternate timeline. So, by the way, I gotta pitch you. I really wish. Here's the thing. I had this idea for like a really great Bond film where Sean Connery was a Bond villain, and so this is where like they make the Bond as a code name theory work. So what they do is Sean Connery is the villain. You want to make him John Mason, tie in The Rock? Sure, let's do that. This is a fan theory. Let's have fun. So basically, Daniel Craig is going through his lair, and you hear Sean Connery's like, "Oh, I used to be you, and I had that code name, and then they told me for first crop." And he's like, "Who are you?" And then Sean Connery kind of emerges from the shadows, and he says, "Bond. James Bond." And then you hear the classic Bond theme come up, you know, and then everything lights up, and you see like the pictures of all the Bonds, like the actual actors, and he talks about it, and then he's like, and then he shows himself, it's like, "Gods, I hated that toupee."
Well, the other thing they could do, make it like a Court of Owls, like it's a secret society of Bonds.
Oh my God, no.
The other thing they could do to keep it like all these different guys play Bond, they kind of did something like this in the Batman comics, where it was the idea that what Bruce does is he had estimated that like from like 20 to 23 to 30, that's his peak Batman years. So what he does is he clones himself, and then when he gets old enough, the clone takes over, so that they just keep like replicating Bond. And the reason why the actors look differently is the farther you get from the cloning, the DNA gets slightly diluted.
So what you're saying is, send in the clone!
I'm telling you, begun, the Clone War has.
So you're saying that Daniel Craig is like the melted, like defective, like
yeah.
Of a...
He's like the 1,000 times removed clone.
That explains it.
But better.
But better in every way.
Oh my
gosh, that'd be great if that's my theory.
I'd buy that.
For England, James?
No. For me.
So yeah, some of the other Bond games that I remember playing is 007 Racing, which is by no means a good game. But yeah, is there any other Bond games you guys remember playing?
The Casino Royale game was good because it also, as a bonus, also included the entire Quantum of Solace movie.
I think it was the Quantum of Solace game that was basically just a Casino Royale movie.
No, but what I'm saying is the game for Casino Royale also included Quantum of Solace.
Wasn't that actually made by Treyarch?
I believe so, which would make sense that it plays a lot like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Did you
Jared,
notice
what
when
have
you
you
start
done?
up a mission on here, it like pans around Pierce Brosnan and then goes inside his head because like they weren't sure yet if audiences understood an FPS.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about this game is, okay, Jared, I'm going to say something. You're going to disagree with it, but frick you. Without GoldenEye, there would be no Halo.
No, that's true.
Because first-person shooters actually was still a very, very new genre. Because this game came out in '97. Doom came out what 94, I think.
Well, it wasn't the first-person shooter that GoldenEye
Console FPS.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's like 4-player split screen
Mhm.
was not something that we had ever seen before.
Or even getting first-person shooters working on having it work in a console, because first-person shooters have been ported to console. Like hell, Doom was on the Super Nintendo,
Yeah,
and,
but
we
very
had, the
few of them were done well, and that's where like GoldenEye and Halo to a degree really like set themselves apart, because finally it showed consistently you can make a good FPS game on a console.
Well, what they did is you could make a good multiplayer.
Well, that too.
That's what made GoldenEye what it was.
Yeah, and you want to know the hilarious part is the multiplayer was literally added at the last minute, and like they weren't planning on doing it. Like I think it was like 6 weeks, and like oh yeah, I need to play that Russia with Love game, because like Sean Connery had retired from acting by then, but he did come back to voice him from Russia with Love.
How do you find this damn tank? Does anyone remember?
Toss a grenade and attach. Haven't you seen any movie?
No, I'm in the tank, but I'm just using my handgun out the top. This is ridiculous.
Oh, you can't shoot the tank gun?
I'm trying to figure out how.
I think that only works in the tank level. I think.
No, wait, I figured it out. I got to switch to the tank as the weapon. I got to get rid of the handgun.
Yeah, that generally works. The way you fire your other guns is you actually have to switch to them. That's kind of how FPS games work.
I mean, you could try spinning. That's a cool trick.
Whoa!
Okay, we got a tank.
Now
I gotta
this is
take out
pod racing.
these guns before I can fly.
He's driving a black tank.
He's not on the street. He is flying on rooftops.
Oh my god!
Which, by the way, Christian Bale could play a good James Bond because he was a good Bruce Wayne. If you could play a good Bruce Wayne, I think you could play a good James Bond.
I mean, to be fair, his Bruce Wayne was basically Patrick Bateman toned down a few notches.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What? That is excessive force.
No, it's not a war crime. It's in the middle of an actual active combat zone. It's overkill, but it's definitely overkill. More fun though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're a valid military target. Thus, this is legal.
It would be hilarious. The hilarious part about this is that when you actually play realistic games, if you actually shot someone that close with a tank, you'd have blood and guts all over you.
Yeah.
That's so metal. I'm sorry, I had to say it. It's so metal. Oh. But yeah, has there been like any word from IO Interactive's James Bond game? Like, because you remember hearing about that? Hey JD, how you doing, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, JD?
Jared, I have one thing to say to you.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War, whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you.
If you excuse me, I have to go watch Peak Fantasy, aka Wheel of Time.
Wow.
He was leaving anyway, so it was a good bit. But yeah. And now that he's yeah. So yeah. Let's talk about our favorite topic, Bond girls. Because I think this is like the biggest thing about the franchise that gets the most heat, but I feel like Bond girls are kind of misunderstood. Force, Nyx, as the only woman presenting person of this stream. That was, by the way, I didn't mean to do that. That was supposed to be cringe. What is your opinion about the Bond girls?
I love them.
There you go. We have solved sexism.
but they're great. They're sexy. They're competent. They're capable.
Yeah, and obviously it's degrees. Like anyone who and there are times where like the Bond girls have been kind of James Bond equal. Like I think the Pierce Brosnan era did a really good job with his Bond girls. Like GoldenEye, I think. Was more of a classic Bond girl, but even her, she was sassing Bond, And then
Christmas.
yeah, and then you had Denise Richards in like her prime as a Bond girl.
Yep.
And then Michelle Yeoh, where like, and then Jinx was a great, like, I honestly think like she was a great Bond girl, and even like Miranda Frost's character, the Gong, like it's so crazy. Like I love Rosamund Pike. I don't like that she's the one for it, like we were talking about Wheel of Time, but like she's the one who's actually playing Moraine, so it's weird. But like she was actually a great Bond girl because she was like Bond girl turned villain, which I don't know if we'd actually done that before. But like
I would say that's the last film.
But yeah, and then Jinx was great, and then obviously we talked about Vesper. I think Quantum of Solace actually has some good ones. I love Quantum of Solace, like with the Mrs. Fields. Can you come here? Check out the stationery, and somehow that worked. Somehow that line worked. Oh my god,
man!
But
what about the Bond lady that died from all the makeup from Goldfinger?
Oh yeah, I think they actually like, and then they they kind of like did a callback to that in Quantum of Solace where like the girl was covered in oil. Yes, you're supposed to find them sexy.
Yeah, that's the point.
and Eva Green is my favorite Bond girl just because like, oh my god, like Eva Green is like the complete package. Like obviously she's sexy, but she's got that personality and like she's got that like husky voice that like, some women can do where it's like it's kind of masculine, but at the same time it's just feminine enough to be like, I'm sorry, I need to kind of. Oh wait! I got the perfect drop. So yeah, like. So what are some of your guys' favorite Bond girls? So yeah, like just hearing Eva Green talk gets you to be like,
I'll be in my bunk.
Sorry, I was looking for the clip. So Forrester, what's your opinion on the whole Bond girl thing?
Let somebody else talk for a second.
All right, Chris.
On it, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't have a favorite, and I don't like dislike any of except for the last chick that was in that last movie. That was just.
I'm sorry, like, she's not like she's not that good of an actor. She had no chemistry with Daniel Craig. Like the scene that killed it for me was like where like she did the gun and he's like, I don't have to teach you a damn thing, and like they're trying to make you believe that like she is Bond's one true love, and there's no chemistry.
No, like, well, they castrated Bond too. They emasculated him and all that shit. And it's like, dude, this is literally a male power fantasy, and you just emasculated your freaking protagonist. Like, this is ridiculous. But
yeah,
like the thing that I like about the Bond girls is that even though they are technically the ball in the game, you actually get to know them and care about them rather than them just being a voiceless like pair of tits.
Yeah, and like I mean, yes,
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. And like, yes, there is a whole like, oh, I hate you, Bond. Then 5 minutes later, she's sleeping with him. But like, yeah, that's part of the fantasy, though. It's like, oh, I am so sexy that even though she hates me, and she's like, oh, I'm not gonna sleep with you, Bond. She always ends up like,
yeah. Nobody wants like that's what bothers me. Like when you get like the for modern audiences stuff is that like they don't know the difference between like that shit testing flirting element and just being an obnoxious like Mary Sue.
And like, even in like that's why I love Vesper, because in that scene where it's like I'm gonna keep my eye on the money and off you're finally tuned off. And it's like, yeah, so you did look. Even secretaries have imagination. Like even though she basically told him to go to hell, she kind of left the door open, like
she was testing him,
and he basically passed.
Yep.
and that's why I love like Vesper and Gabon in that movie, is because also it's like, this is tailored. The writing is so good, where he says, I sized you up the moment I met you. That is amazing writing. That is peak. I love it. That is like great writing. I'm sorry, but like the cleverness, like, because I love it when writing does like multiple things, where like she's answering the question, but she's also saying, I sized you up the moment I met you. It's like,
Yeah. Pun, 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 pun.
like, and it's like, it's like the whole tragedy of like when he says, the bitch is dead. It's like, where like that's why he's the cold detached Bond at the end of the movie, is because Vesper made him that way. And it's like, you can buy that like Vesper had ulterior motives, but she did actually love Bond. Like, her feelings for him were genuine, and it's like, it's told through like the body language, it's told through like the acting, you know, where it's like she was actually conflicted. Like, you actually bought that whole thing. Versus like Spectre and No Time to Die, you don't buy it, because like the chemistry between the actors is just not there, and the writing is just not there. I'm sorry, but like the actress is just not as good as Eva Green. You know,
well, that, and they're trying to castrate the Bond. They're trying to make like it felt like the whole thing about like, oh, they got to make the women like represent. No, they don't. Like, this is a guy's film. I mean, if you haven't noticed the way guys are portrayed in women's films, guys are like borderline retarded. Like, they're all dumb mook oafs, and that's fine.
Also, I do want to say, in Atomic Blonde, the men are capable. Like for example, in Atomic Blonde, she works with men, and they are capable. They help her. You know, her handler is John Goodman, and it's like he's capable. You know, or like the contact she has. I think it's one of the Skarsgårds. He's capable. Her villain is a guy, and he's not, and he's capable. You know.
Just having like the thing was, it was like we were talking about like the kind of the, you know, the period pieces of the original Bond, where like you had that clip of like the men are talking, you know, or whatever. Like, okay, that's not a bad thing. That's the guy, whatever. Like, if you're a woman, you're offended by this, it wasn't made for you. You know,
he's also getting rid of a bystander, so she won't potentially get killed.
By the way,
man talk.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in context.
Yeah, but it's like, no, like people would complain about that, but they wouldn't complain about Homer Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, there is kind of a scene where it like where he's like, he kind of does force herself on a woman a little bit too much, and it is a bit SAE. Like,
you mean 47 no's and 1 yes is a yes.
I mean, that's a Family Guy version, but Forrester, do you know which one I'm talking about? I can't remember what film it is, but like he's like he's kind of like shaking her, and she kind of gets like, it's a bit like,
it's a bit.
Like, I can.
Yeah, no, I agree. I never said it was perfect per se.
And like, yeah, there are some stuff like the whole like Yellowface Bond doing like the whole like Japanese thing is, but at the same time, you also gotta view these films as products of their time. You know,
that's where the Craig series and the books do a little better, where he's more of a flawed character. The movies kind of had this the early movies had this neither fish nor fowl, where they weren't quite sure if they were doing like, you know, the ideal hero or the flawed hero, and he could kind of be both depending on the scene and context.
Yeah,
like I mean, he's really sexually pushy in Skyfall, but we just don't think of the Craig character the same way, because he's not really being, you know, put forward as like a shining example. And also, when we see 60s movies and older, we're so used to the protagonist being a moral example that we're kind of looking for that.
Oh yeah, like the Craig films, they like for example, in I think it's No Time to Die, where like, why did they wait till No Time to Die to have Monica Bellucci be a Bond girl? What the hell?
Oh, I know. Yeah, damn.
And like her husband just died and he slept with her, or like the scene from Skyfall where he goes into the shower, like that is a bit it kind of depends on the context. Because like
I know you're mourning, but
but yeah, but like
yeah, but the Craig Bond is never put forward as like a moral example. He's
No.
more of a flawed and complicated character than.
Like I would say the Money Penny, like they kind of turned her into a badass good girl, but I think they did it right because you got to remember you didn't realize she was Money Penny until literally the end of the movie.
You know, I think I'll tell you who's my most problematic Bond is probably Moore, because they did go for a lighter, more comedic tone. With Connery, I still kind of got the flawed, edgy hero vibe. But with Moore, they made him just such a kind of a happy-go-lucky almost figure that
cartoon.
When he did do something like stacking Solitaire's deck so they were all the lovers.
Yeah.
The other problem with Moore is he hung around way too long. So like by the end of his run, it's kind of like when he's sleeping with these women. Oh yeah, like that's the whole thing. But I do love the interpretation of Moneypenny for the interpretation of Moneypenny for the Craig films, because they kind of reinvented her. Like, yeah, she had an interest, but they had like a more of a flirtatious. So like when she did sleep with him, it felt natural. Like, okay, they're on a mission. There always been some flirtation. Like, okay, yeah, that made sense. There was an attraction between them, and you know, whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like Moneypenny was handled really well in the Craig era.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And like even because like Moneypenny was always a character you saw for one scene and that was it. Even after Skyfall, she was an active participant in the films. In Spectre or No Time to Die, she was still doing stuff. So I do like the interpretation of Moneypenny.
I think there's a certain unfairness though in where Bond is criticized where because this is a fantasy character. Like when feminists or people will criticize, they're looking at it more in the lens of how would real men be perceived in the situation. Well, no real men is as 5,000% capable and suave and everything as this imaginary character.
Here's a hypocrisy.
I feel like his success with women would really be like that if he existed. But my question is, if it was a female character and men were falling all over her, I feel like nobody would really question that.
No,
so I kind of feel like when they question Bond, it's more like just angry people saying, well, I don't think a man can be that sexy. Well, you know, screw you.
The same
You
type
clearly
of people
not met the right man.
The same type of people
exactly.
The same type of people who criticize Bond for all this stuff are the same type of people who cheer when Brie Larson's Captain Marvel literally almost murders a guy for his motorcycle just for telling her to smile.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really good point on that. Like, it shows how like warped the feminist Marxism is kind of skewed our at least 2 generations now. It's really ruined them. But like one thing that as bad as the Wonder Woman 1984 film was, it really showed that at least I don't know if it was what's her name, the writer of that, or Gal Gadot or whomever, but like. There's a scene that's very similar to that in the Wonder Woman 84 film where the villain character, okay, not the hero, but the villain character, the cheetah, there's a guy that's like hitting on her and stuff. Okay, just hitting on her. Like hasn't assaulted her, hasn't done anything, just hitting on her. And she just snaps and like almost kills him. And
the movie portrays that as a bad thing.
As a bad thing, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm
saying.
Say what
you about the movie. That is one thing. I will give the movie that. The way it's shot, the music, it is portrayed as a bad thing. Like
exactly.
It's basically. I would almost say that scene's an answer to the Captain Marvel scene.
Exactly, and it really is concerning, you know, especially being a guy, where you're seeing this violence portrayed against men, and it's celebrated. It's this like misandry. Like we hear all about misogyny. We hear all about terrible men and their sexism and their misogyny and all that misogynies, but nobody knows misandry. It's funny how that one gets oddly omitted.
Well, the problem is throughout history, men have been viewed as disposable. Men went off to war. Men died for war. But the thing is, there was kind of a give and take. Like, yeah, men were the ones who had to put out their life on the line. But then they get to come home and have sex with their wives and have, it's like the man, like the woman had to like F the war out of them, so to speak. It's like the man comes home.
We just got demonetized.
I didn't curse.
Yeah.
But like the woman would come, the man would come home. He like I killed the enemy tribe. I brought honor and glory. Here, let's have sex. And then afterwards, can you split some logs? Like, because that's the whole thing. It's like men get good loving, they're more willing to do stuff for the woman. It's like, come on,
Yep.
Do you notice in the feminist viewpoint with this kind of writing, they're keeping as much as they're getting rid of? Like on the one hand, they still want their female character getting hit on. Like there's still this idea that it's somehow complimentary, but they want the male who does it to get punished. They don't really want to never get hit on. They just want to like punish him for it afterwards.
It's like
there's still a wish fulfillment in like, men still find the character sexy. Although if it's men, on the other hand, they want to write the male characters as no one finding them sexy. It's this weird little like it's anger thing.
You got to realize the same women who criticize all this stuff are the same women who read Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, which, by the way, if you read those young adult novels, I can sum them all up. Female hot protagonist has 2 or more men fighting over her. There you go.
That's literally every YA novel of 2010s.
Exactly. And nobody complains about it. Nobody, like, I don't care that Edward Cullen and whoever the freaking werewolf guy is are fighting each other for the affections of a buck-toothed vampire or a dopey-looking chick. I don't care. Like, good for you, girl. Like, go get yours,
we've heard all the like the classic things about 50 Shades of Grey. Like, oh, imagine if Christian Grey lived in a trailer. Like, the movie would be completely different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like the classic meme of like the woman at the office where it's like, "Hey Sandra, good shirt," and the guy's all attractive. She's like, "Oh, that's nice." And then you got the dopey looking guy say the same thing. It's like, HR, I'd like to make a report.
Oh yeah, that gets into female psychology where the moment that a woman finds you unworthy of her, like she wants to put on the advertisement, look, I'm getting all gussed up. I want only attractive men to notice me. The moment an unattractive man or somebody she deems whatever, it turns into this like revulsion, like this anger, like how dare you even look at me?
And but she'll still be mad if he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's a lot of older women that are saying they're like, I miss the cat calls, and it's like, bitch, you just told us that cat calls were tantamount to like violence. Make up your mind.
See, that's why like I know there's a lot of hate for like the cam girls that like the Twitch, but like but on some respect, like the ones who are like, yeah, I'm sexy and you guys are here because I'm sexy, I can kind of respect it to a degree. Like, for example, the whole Amaranth thing. Like, honestly, Amaranth's attractive. People want to pay her money. She's a businesswoman. Like,
it's not gonna last forever. Use it.
But do I like what she's doing? No. But do I respect her business stuff? Yeah. Because and it's the same with like a lot of those cam girls where it's like, you're attractive. Like, and here's the other thing. How many guys, if you had a body like Amaranth, you would do the same thing. You would be doing the same thing. And anyone who says different is either a church-going person, when in that case, that's fine, or you're lying.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that is a very powerful trump card that, these women have. And it's like, don't hate like respect the hustle, dude. If they play their cards right, they could retire at 30,
Yeah. Like Amaranth makes a frick ton of money.
More than me.
Yeah. Or like Bella Delphine. Like dear God, that woman is like, I think she's like 24 or something, and she's already made like $100 million.
God damn.
Like I have a lot of respect for Belle Delphine.
Yeah, but that's also
that
what's
woman-
gross about. Yeah, but that's also what's gross about it because it's so unearned. It's like
Well, it
you won
shows
the
how
genetic
sick our
lottery
lottery,
society.
and now you're monetizing it. Like, no, if I wouldn't, if I looked like her, I'd still want to do something
Yeah.
where I actually earned it.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like, why do you think they call it the oldest profession in the world?
Yeah.
Like, there's if you get down to it, our baser, disgusting, biological, like skewed society or social norms or whatever, you get down to the biology, we have three things. Will it kill us? Can we F it, or can we eat it? And that, this one answers the second question. And she's exploiting a biological drive. And what's sad is that, the age of simps. But, here's the thing is, she is a symptom, not the problem. Like, the problem is that we have men that are so disenfranchised with this world because of things like feminism and then, single motherhood, bringing these boys into this world that have been raised to be men. So they have no value to women. So it's this weird feedback loop, and it creates this legion of lost simps.
Like, why do you think OnlyFans girls make so much money? It's not because they're putting their tatas and their boobs out. When you're paying for an OnlyFans, you're not paying to see boobs and tatas. You're paying for access. You're paying to
for
message the
attention,
girl. You're paying for the message the girl, and then they message back. That is what you're paying on OnlyFans. You're basically paying for the girlfriend experience, so to speak. But here's another point I want to raise. So in this call, minus Nick's, we're all comic book creators, okay? What is the difference? So all of us put attractive ladies in our comics. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is the difference between us as creators, and I'm putting myself in this situation, what is it between us putting attractive ladies in our comics and then a woman who is attractive? Because we were doing that for a specific reason. We put attractive ladies in our comics because that gets eyes on our stuff. Obviously, there's levels to it. Like Screecher's a bit more modest, but she's still an attractive lady. And like Forrester is more noir, and then Chris is just straight out porn.
Wait, what?
But the point is still the same. We put attractive ladies because it gets eyes on our stuff. So what is the difference between that and this is going to be clipped, so this is going to be clipped and shared. What is there between that and Amaranth and Twitch stuff and people using an attractive woman using what God gave her to for attention or views or money? I don't really see a difference.
Well, drawing is a skill I've learned and earned and took a long time. But also I've done comics that don't have any cheesecake whatsoever.
Well, no, not just cheesecake though. There is a difference between full-on TNA cheesecake and just having an attractive face to look
like
at.
I said with Screecher is a cute girl. She's attractive. She's cute, and it's like the same thing when I was creating Shiva. I made her to be attractive, and it's like she's not like putting her stuff bits on display, but she's still attractive. She's still cute,
Yeah, I kind of lucked out because the main heroine, or at least one of the main heroes from from my stories there, like the chick that you're seeing in my portrait, that was played and designed by a woman, like a female.
Nix, I have a very important question for you. Nix.
Yes.
Do you watch JoJo for the plot?
Partially, yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god! She has proved my point. But like, this is all like I don't know, like because Chris said it. Chris pretty much hit the nail on the head. If people didn't pay for this stuff, they wouldn't have a market, And the thing is, if it wasn't Amaranth, it would be somebody else, okay? Because at the end of the day, these people are lonely or they want the attention, and they would spend their money on someone else. So
Amaranth is just so callous. That's where she's like. I've seen lots of clips of her where she's like, she goes off script. And,
oh yeah, she's not a good person.
No,
she's a terrible person.
Yeah.
I agree, but but on some level, I respect her game. Like I respect.
Yeah, you
like,
can respect the hustle.
Woman.
Yeah,
They're like as evil as she is. You gotta acknowledge that woman has a brain. Like there is actually like that woman actually has a bit of a brain.
Actually, you should look up the etymological origin of the word cunning.
Wait, what?
You know the word cunning?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
you know, it means like,
oh. See you next Tuesday.
yeah, well, that's where it comes from. Like, it's funny. Like a lot of the
Bankman's confused. Bankman's confused.
yeah, the cunning means a vile, deceptive, and incredibly intelligent woman. That's where it started. The cunning folk. They back in the day.
I've always said
the origin of witches.
I've always said the most dangerous weapon on the planet is a young, attractive woman who is smart, knows she has both, and knows how to exploit it. That kind of woman can literally get anything in life.
That's where cunning comes from. Although you should find out where the origin of hysteria comes from.
I think it has something to do with peaches, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have no.
Also, Nix, did you know what the cure for hysteria was in the 50s?
What?
Okay, we're almost, so basically, hysteria in the 50s was like women being cray cray. So they go to the doctor, and the doctor would use his magic wand. You think it is exactly what you think it is. He would work it. He would work his vibe on the woman, and she'd be fine for a few days.
Yeah, they believe that the mental distress caused by women was like some type of imbalance in their history or in their basically in their womb. And
I mean, in reality, the woman I'm just going to be blunt. She needed to get off.
Yeah.
That is historically correct. You're a bit off in the decade. That's closer to the 1890s.
Yeah. You ever see the first one, the first vibrate? Dude, it was like a table that you laid down on face down, and there was this wheel with these like little things that smacked.
Yeah, but the 50s was more prescription drugs. That's the 1890s, but it's still fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man,
that's so crazy. I mean, back in the 1890s, the cure for everything was like, all right, I'm going to give you this alcohol laced with cocaine.
If that doesn't work, we'll just put a bunch of leeches on you.
Have you seen those? They're real
Dude, not much has
advertisements. And it's like, this family is happy because they use heroin.
I mean, Coca-Cola was originally a medicine, and yes, it did have cocaine in it.
Legit.
Did you know that Coca-Cola is literally they have a special exemption from the U.S. by the U.S. government to import the coca leaf, because otherwise it's banned because it's literally cocaine. But Coca-Cola has a special exemption to import the leaf by the U.S. government.
Dang.
I love how we went from alcohol and cocaine.
Cocaine.
Yeah, we went from Bond to oh yeah, you know how they treated this in the 1800s? Okay.
Welcome to Friday Night Frenzy, everybody. Where the topics are more like a set of guidelines. I mean, this is the whole point of the show.
Well, we went from Bond girls to Twitch thoughts. It was there was a logical progression.
Everyone was getting high on everything back in the day. Yeah.
Which is hilarious when you realize they were all a bunch of prudes.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't do nothing.
But what's crazy is like, oh my god, it's like the thing is like, I look at the 1890s, but then you look at like brothels and like the porn of the day. It's like,
well, you know where porn came from, right?
Where?
So porn is from the Greek porne, which is basically a nice way of saying prostitute or young girl prostitute.
Oh, this got dark.
And graphi means writing. So it's like writing about prostitutes. The term goes back to when it was just written erotica, like before the camera.
So yeah, like just writing on like this is insert. This is where Jared would make a joke about. Oh, so Nick, so you're just writing it. You read it on the stone tablets. Like I'm not making it. Like Jared's not here to make the joke, so I'm doing it very bad.
Yeah, well, they would do a lot of that. Like that HBO's Rome showed a lot of the graffiti, the really rude graffiti that apparently they scrubbed off the walls of Herculaneum and Pompeii when they excavated them. Or a lot of documentaries don't show the graffiti. But
isn't there like because you know how like Pompeii they got people like as they were, so like there's like Aztec.
There's a guy doing
it. Yeah, there's actually a guy and a woman actually having sex.
Well, yeah, and there's another guy with his hand on his wang going, if I'm going out, I'm going out full mast.
I mean, to be fair, if that was if I saw this, it's like, well, I'm on an island and the volcanoes are show. I probably have about 20 minutes. Yeah, I have time.
Rub one out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but it showed. Well, you know, the obelisk. That's supposed to be a certain member of the male organelle, but yeah, that gets. It's amazing how much like how perverted our ancient history is. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like caveman drawings that have some of that stuff, like, that they just don't show.
It's like Kid from Superbad.
like haven't they found like Viking like isn't like I remember there's like these Viking ruins. They're like they found and they translated it and it was like so and so was here. Like literally. Yeah. like it's just
human nature.
Times change, but people don't.
Well, one of the oldest known carvings to have survived from prehistory was the Venus of Willendorf, which is a giant fat lady naked, and it was like a fertility totem or whatever.
Oh, have you seen some of the Egyptian art? Like, dear God.
the wee wuzzery where they're like, congratulations, you guys were ball cleaners.
Oh, that reminds me. So like I helped my cousin. He had an apartment in Detroit for a while, and it was like a really nice apartment. Helped him move in, and like I was looking up at the apartment. It's like, holy crap, there's naked ladies up there. So like, like this was Detroit. It was like a building, and like atop the building there was like these women like with bare breasts.
Whoa.
To be fair, this is like kind of like 10 stories up, so like you can't really like see it, but like it was nice. So wild.
My state flag has bare boobs and a dead body on it.
Whoa, which one?
Well,
Virginia. It's like a Roman goddess standing over a dead king. And like, yeah, her boobs are out and she's holding a spear, and there's a king with his crown broken on the ground with thus always to tyrants in Latin. That's our state flag. Little awkward when you know it's about Abraham Lincoln, but I'm not going there.
Yeah. Also, speaking of like flags and states, like what is it with like these states trying to like, oh, we're gonna make the most generic, boring flags ever because like we don't like these seals, and that just like these like I mean, this is one where I'll probably like I know exactly what Chris is gonna say. It's like the Marxist infiltration. They're trying to make everything the same. Like, I'm sorry, Chris. I is that what you were gonna say?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't know. I mean, the flag for my state is oddly enough, it's a steamship, which when you think of New Hampshire, you don't really think of.
Okay. Speaking of steamships, let's just do a little bit of a tangent here. Speaking of steamships, Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
Should I play Steamboat Willie? Because like from what I hear, it's actually still in the Content ID system. So you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you see so somebody was like, look, the what is it? The IP has been public domain in less than a day, and there's already a horror movie based on it.
To be fair, it was probably in development beforehand, but they just unveiled it afterwards.
Yeah.
Also, have you seen the trailer for the game Mouse?
No.
It's a first-person shooter. Let me look it up for you.
Is it MAUS with an umlaut over the U, or is it
let's see, whatever. All right. see here. Yeah, check this out.
Oh yeah, the Fleischer style animations. This looks gorgeous.
Yeah, like they're like they're doing Disney. They're basically doing like but this looks really good. Like this kind of gives me like a little bit of like BioShock vibes a little bit.
Yeah, I totally I forgot that this was called Mouse, but yeah, this looks. I love that Fleischer animation style. I don't know why, because it's like not anatomically like everybody's got like weird wiry limbs and stuff.
Oh, no. It's not that you like the Fleischer style, because Fleischer's realistic because they use rotoscoping. You like rubber hose animation. That's
Yeah. Yeah, well, like Cuphead, like
Cuphead is rubber hose. That's rubber hose.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. It's like weird nostalgia, even though I didn't exist in the 1930s when that was like made, or the 1940s.
Well, the thing is, and this is kind of where modern society is kind of fricked up, is like we were shown a lot of classic stuff as a kid. Like I remember, like I actually watched the Fleischer cartoons as a kid because I remember there was like a VHS tape that had like a bunch of cartoons on it, and one of the cartoons was like a Superman cartoon.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
those were amazing.
Yeah, and like we as kids, we grew up on a lot of older media. Like I like Twilight Zone, even though that show premiered 30 years before I was born.
Yeah,
and like there's kind of been like the chain kind of got broke in between like millennials and Gen Z. I mean, kind of, but like, yeah, a lot of, and I think that's kind of been a problem where even though you watch the new stuff, you still watch the old stuff, and you still at least had a respect for it. And so because a lot of these kids weren't exposed to a lot of the old stuff, they don't have a respect for it.
Yeah.
It's,
well, did
it's
you
like,
ever
it's like
see
you,
that?
It's like you said. It's like you said. Like you have this kind of like nostalgic pull for rubber hose animation, even though it was popular 50 years before you were born.
Yeah.
Probably was because you watched a lot of those cartoons as a kid. And so it's like you have a nostalgia for it because you watched it as a kid,
Or you watched stuff
see...
that was like it. Like you don't have to have seen the Fleischer Superman if you grew up in the 90s with the Batman the Animated Series. Like you kind of know the feel and style.
No, have you guys ever seen that Popeye where they did he goes into like Aladdin's cave or whatever, and it's this insane effect that I haven't ever seen replicated until like the digital age. But they filmed the entire background as a miniature model set, and then they had Popeye like walk into the cave as obviously the 2D animation cell, and it's an effect that as a kid I was like, holy crap, that looks awesome. But like ever since like the 90s, I blame The Simpsons for it. Like I think Matt Groening is a terrible artist, but that like ugliness and cheap animation, like because I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and cartoons that we had were mainly Japanese, so we actually had like super high quality stuff.
I mean, it's honestly like I'd say it's more recently because like even in the 2000s we were still getting well animated cartoons. Like look at Teen Titans or look at the Disney Afternoon block. So like obviously,
oh god, yeah.
Like the Disney cartoons of like Disney Afternoon, like they're not as good as Disney Feature, but they're still pretty good. Or like Teen Titans, or like a lot of the cartoons from the 2000s are still pretty well animated. Like obviously Avatar, that's more late 2000s, but like Codename Kids Next Door. Like to be fair, the reason for a lot of that is a lot of those cartoons in the 2000s used Japanese studios for the animation. And like they started doing like the Korean animation studios for their places. Yeah, because
people did it all for you.
yeah. Because like the way animation has been made ever since like I'd say the late 90s is the storyboards and some of the early stuff were made in America, and then like all the animation grunt work was done in Korea. Like the TMNT cartoon of the 2000s was made in Korea. That's why a lot of the animation in the 2000s is actually really good high quality, because you got those like really good Korean studios working on it.
Yeah, because like I remember like watching Tom and Jerry, all the Hanna-Barbera, like that was fine. But then all of a sudden, like the Simpsons come out, and I'm like, wow, that's really ugly. Like that's really poorly drawn. I mean, I get it; it's a style and everything. It just, like everything looks ugly. And then all of a sudden, we get like Beavis and Butthead, and I'm like, dude, I could draw better than that.
Well, the problem with modern animation is it's basically 2D, 3D animation. That's basically what modern 2D animation is.
Toon Boom.
And
Yeah.
Toon Boom, like yeah. Well, funny thing is, wasn't Princess and the Frog done with Toon Boom? And it doesn't look like a Toon Boom cartoon.
Yeah.
Like that's why like a lot of modern animation looks very samey, is because they're all using the same program, the same plugins, versus like you look at cartoons even as late as like I said, the 2000s. Like compare Codename Kid Next Door to Megas XLR. And I'm sorry, every time you mention Megas XLR, all the 2000s kids just go crazy. So
I've never
great
heard of
show.
it.
Well,
You got me there.
yeah.
But just compare it. Like, yeah, they look similar, but they're still a unique style to both of them.
Yeah, I like, for example, Cal Art style with the jelly bean head and the like.
Oh my god, that needs to die.
That ruined it for me, dude. That looked like Flash animation, and I'm like, some of them are
okay.
written really well.
Don't insult Flash animation, because some of those Flash animation, I'll take an Ego Raptor Flash animated cartoon over Cal Art style. Like, and I'm sorry, Ego Raptor is a terrible animator, but at least he had a style. Like, if you watch like Metal Gear, awesome. Like, it looks like crap, but at least there's kind of a style to it. There's an intent. There's a passion behind it, to where you can kind of respect it. Like, look at his his Pokemon cartoon. Like, he is a terrible animator, but it had a personal touch to it that you could, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, here, like one thing that the 80s also did, like, not to jump back to the other stuff, but yeah, like having that specific like style, like look, like there are people that do this all the time on social media now. They're like, what was your favorite 80s cartoon intro? And there are so many of them that like they're there to sell you on the show. And dude, there are people like 40 years later who see that intro and go, holy crap, what is that? Like hell, even like girl card. Remember Gem and the holograms, the intro to that? It looked like a real person. It looked like they rotoscoped the whole damn thing.
I mean, we're getting into anime here, but like, look at Akira. There is no CG in Akira. Okay,
none.
Like, you watch Akira and you tell them there is no CG. It is like what they did with Akira. I mean, we're getting in anime here. We're getting in anime territory.
Yeah,
but like
drawn.
Akira, that was all hand-drawn animation. And like, even looking at the Disney stuff, like you look at Snow White, and actually Snow White still looks pretty decent today.
Mm-hmm.
Anything by Ralph Bashki.
Oh yeah, that's all rotoscoped. Yeah, or well, to go to the Disney stuff, like one of the things that Disney did really well was self-shadowing. Like cartoons
Disney
generally
really innovated in like the 30s with their multi-plane camera. That helped their animation a lot. The multi-plane camera.
Oh yeah, definitely. That, and I think they have a standard 24 frames per second or 24 cells per second.
Well, actually, okay. What you're talking about is, so most animation is done on twos. Okay, is basically what you do is you animate one and then hold. Okay, so, but Disney often, especially for their films, animate on ones. So like every frame is animated.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a skip. Actually, some anime is actually done on threes. So like some of it anyway.
Oh god.
So that's why some anime looks really choppy, is because they're like every third frame is a new frame, and like most animation is done on twos. Every second frame is a new one, versus a lot of Disney was done on ones. But the other thing is, you notice how like a lot of Disney films from like the late 50s up until the Renaissance were kind of crap. That's because they started using like the Xerox style that was cheaper. Like that's why like 101 Dalmatians, Jungle Book, they kind of have like this very rough look to them. And then when you
Yeah, they were pencil drawings, right? And they were it's like the pencil test art that used to be traced over. They were just like Xeroxing and coloring it.
Yeah, and also Disney also recycles a lot of animation. Like for example, like the dance scene in Robin Hood is from Cinderella, or from Snow White or something. I mean, I don't
Snow White.
John?
Yeah, I mean, Disney's using their own animation. Like I don't care. They're copying themselves. Who cares? You know, I really don't. But
They're just copying their own homework.
Yeah, I'm cheating off myself.
Pretty much. Like that's why like look at the I can't remember his name, but like the Ralph the Secret of Nim and like all like the Don Bluth films.
Don Bluth, yeah, I love that guy's animation.
Don Bluth was a Disney animator, and he was trained by the 9 Old Men. Like he actually learned directly under the masters, and he came up in that era where they were like really cheaping out. So he left Disney and formed Don Bluth Animations. And in the 80s and 90s, he was killing it. Like you got to realize, like Fox Animation in the late 90s was Don Bluth, because basically what Fox did is they basically offered Don Bluth a lot of money, so they closed down Don Bluth Studios and basically they basically changed the sign on the door almost. Like Titan AE is I don't think that's Don Bluth, but that's Fox Animation.
Yeah, that's a well animated film.
Yeah, like there's a lot of animated films from the late 90s and early 2000s that like nobody really talks about, like Cats Don't Dance. I mean, like a lot of people talk about Iron Giant, which is a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brad Bird did that. Like I went on to do Incredibles. Like I said, Cats Don't Dance, Titan AE, Anastasia. Anastasia is a Disney movie in all but name.
All Dogs Go to Heaven, Rock-a-Doodle.
Yeah. And not all of it was being done by Don Bluth. Like Warner Brothers Animation in the late 90s, 2000s was doing a lot of good stuff.
Mm.
It's just 2D animation died in the 2000s when CG took over. Like Shrek was basically the death of 2D animation.
Oof.
Like Toy Story did not kill 2D animation. It was Shrek. Because you think about it, Shrek is basically the progenitor of basically our modern 3D movie. Like all the Minion stuff, you can trace that back to Shrek. Yeah, all the Minions, that's Despicable Me, all the Illumination humor is basically just it's Shrek.
Yeah. When I'm working for Ubisoft, man, there was a lot of people that were saying that the Minions were just ripoffs of the Rabbids.
I mean, which one came first, though?
The Rabbids. And then on top of that, the Rabbids got their inspiration from Gremlins.
Also, can I say, fuck you, Ubisoft, because like Rabbids killed Rayman.
Yeah, it did. It ruined that series. I agree.
And then also why the frick did they turn Rayman into a villain like that? Like, why are they doing that to Rayman? Like, come on.
Well, not only that, but because Ubisoft was given the license by Nintendo, they made
I'll be right back. I gotta do something real quick. So guys, talk.
All right. Yeah, Ubisoft was given the license to do a kind of an XCOM style strategy or tactical game with the Mario license. And in my opinion, I think it probably would have done better if they kept the Rabbids out of it. Like if they just had the Mario characters in there.
What are the Rabbids? I don't actually know what you're talking about.
So Rabbids are basically the minions, like the whole bunch of these things that are all like interchangeable. They all look the same basically. And they're all like stupid, unintelligible, whatever. And I think it was DreamWorks or whatever said, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea," and they made like these little yellow Twinkie things, and then made the
LOL random. They wear costumes, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, is one of the minions actually called Stuart?
Yes.
Okay, I've been told that. That's actually my first name that I never go by.
Oh. All right.
You were like, oh, like Dominion. I'm like, I guess I don't know really what that is. But...
Yeah, thank you.
There's,
thing that kills me-
to our
At least you're not
knowledge,
calling me
there's-
Stuart Little anymore because I'm 6'5", and so
Yeah, kind of
people,
weird.
people think that's so
Forcer.
ironic.
Forcer, you're
Yeah.
Stuart, not so little.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like a big irony. Haha, Stuart Little because he's huge.
But here's
my
the thing,
knowledge,
like-
there's 3 names. 3 of them have names. There's Kevin, Stewart, and Bob.
Yep.
And then I don't know the other ones.
Banana.
But getting back to the Rayman stuff, like, so Ubisoft made 2 really good games in like the late 2000s for Rayman, and then they just did nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why they don't push Rayman more, because like that's a great franchise, and like because Rayman is basically Ubisoft's Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they started on 3DO with Rayman, and then when 3DO failed, I remember they rapidly ported it to.
I think
wanna say the
Rayman was
PlayStation.
originally on the Jaguar, I believe.
I
I know Rayman was on the Jaguar. He was on the Jaguar. As far as where he first showed up, that I'm not entirely sure, but I know he was on the Jaguar.
I think you're right. I think I misspoke. I think you're right. It was the
Gex
Jaguar.
was on Gex. I think you're thinking of Gex because Gex
Yeah,
was
the
originally on the 3DO,
wisecracking.
and then both of those went to PlayStation.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Ubisoft made it for the Atari's freaking 64-bit Jaguar, which it really wasn't.
Do the math.
64-bit.
Do the math.
Yeah, we did the math and found out that it's actually slower than the PS1. But yeah, it's only a 32-bit processor that runs in tandem.
What's funny is the Jaguar is actually a pretty decently powerful system, and in a different timeline, it could have competed.
Well, their software was garbage, and
Yeah.
it sucked because their controller also, like, Atari was like a flash in the pan. Like, they had like 1 or 2 really good hits. I mean, obviously in the early 80s, they were kicking ass, and then
Here's the thing you got to realize. Okay, so the Atari of the 90s is not the Atari of the 80s. So are you familiar with Jack Tramiel and Commodore?
Mhm.
So there's a guy named Jack Tramiel. Okay, he started Commodore, as in Commodore 64, and basically he got ousted from Commodore in like the mid 80s, and around this time, Warner Brothers, who had owned Atari, basically wanted to get rid of them because this is like video game crash happened. So Jack Tramiel bought Atari and basically fired everyone, and so from then on, it was basically the Tramiels that were running it. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Bushnell founded it. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but like Atari, the logo is Mount Fuji, and Atari literally is a Japanese word meaning to like it's like success. It's like to hit the target you were aiming for.
Yeah.
So,
Also,
and sorry.
The one of my favorite like little things is like so you know how Ralph Baer created Pong, all right, and for the longest time Nolan Bushnell said, I've never seen Pong. I've never seen it. So Ralph Baer actually had the logs, the sign-in logs for the trade show where he showcased his black box. Event became the Magic Odyssey. You want to know who signed? You want no, that's Tennis for Two. That you think of it something different. Sorry, video game history. I'm very well versed in this. This is my area. It's my court. Nolan Bushnell was on the logs, so Nolan Bushnell was at the show, and he probably saw Pong.
Oh yeah, well, I mean that's the problem with the video game industry in general, or any creative industry, is that people will rob you blind, and the people with more resources will get their stuff out faster than you, even though they weren't the originators of your.
Did you ever hear the story of so Steve Jobs worked at Atari, okay, and so Nolan Bushnell tasked Steve Jobs with because back in the day, Atari arcade games were done on like mostly like number of chips, so they wanted to get the breakout game under a certain amount of chips. So Nolan Bushnell tasked Steve Jobs to do it, and he said, for every chip you remove under this threshold, I'll give you a certain amount of money. So he enlisted Steve Wozniak. and they removed a frick ton of chips. But the thing is, Steve Jobs basically screwed over Steve Wozniak, where like he gave him some of the money, but not like a vast, like not all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, Woz is a genius. He just got kind of taken for a ride.
Yeah, I mean he has the last laugh because he's set for life, but still, yeah.
Yeah, like he's not a businessman. The guy's a computer genius. He just, yeah. I mean, I guess in a way he kind of got off lucky considering how much of a scumbag Jobs was. Like, not that I disrespect the contributions that Jobs has made, to basically to typography, to computers in general, but like, he was kind of a slimy businessman. Wozniak was the
Steve Jobs was the Thomas Edison of his day. I think that's a that's a pretty fair comparison. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one because, I would say Wozniak would be your Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, I would believe that.
Poor Tesla died poor and alone.
To be fair, Tesla married his pigeon, so I'm not really sure how.
I think that guy actually. I think a lot of his mental illness probably stemmed from the fact that like he was an idealist, and we were doing research for Assassin's Creed stuff. We want to get the historical. Like if you ever read about the Vardenclef Towers, it's freaking amazing. It's scary, but it's amazing. But I think the marrying the pigeon and eating his own poop or whatever other stuff happened, I think it was a result of him psychologically breaking after he basically had everything taken from him.
Yeah,
like there are a lot of bad people.
Have you ever seen the movie The Current War?
Yes, yeah, with Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I mean Cumberbatch. I mean Michael Shannon, Tom Holland, Nicholas Hoult. It's actually a very stacked movie. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. And like because Westinghouse was just as much of a scumbag as Thomas Edison.
Yeah,
honestly.
They were all businessmen. That's what it was. Is Nikola Tesla wasn't a businessman. He was a genius. He was an inventor, and his invention of the alternating current was basically Westinghouse's money plan. Their ticket. And then when he was no longer making money for Westinghouse just drops him.
Yeah, it's sad, really.
Yep.
So Nick, Forrester, anything you guys want to add?
I can't think of anything. We've gotten way off topic.
I'm sorry.
The video game and animation thing needs to be its own stream.
Yeah, we can talk about that for sure. I think we should kind of put a cap on this. So let's kind of go around, say our final words. Anything you want to shout out, we can do that. Chris, go first.
Sure. So I finally I'll be attending my first con or convention this year. I got a table at Granite State Comic Con this year in September, and I'm really looking forward to that. So
I'm going to warn you, you're going to get hooked.
Oh, I hope so. Because I don't go out that much, so this will be like my.
They are addictive. They are a rush, especially when you're selling.
Ooh, yeah.
Like the whole like especially knowing how good your product is, Chris.
Oh, thanks.
When you sell when you have people see your stuff and they love it and they buy it, and it's like holy, it's emotionally addictive. I'm just gonna say that.
Nice, man. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm in the process now of getting my tablecloth branded, and I have an interactive kiosk that I'm working on right now.
Do you have a banner?
UI port. Yes, got a big 6-foot something banner.
All right,
and a life-size standee.
Nice. Do you have a safe, like a thing you can lock your money in the money box?
No.
Get one.
Okay.
Yeah, trust me, that helps. That you need that. Also, do you have a dolly, like a cart or something?
Oh yeah. I've moved around enough. I got the 2-wheeler that turns into the 4-wheeler, and I can put some shipping containers in there.
All right, I just get a little cash box so you can just kind of lock up or whatnot. Also, do you have a way to take card?
Yes, I got one of those square readers. Or
all right, cool. Yeah, sorry, I kind of went into advice mode there, but like, Forrester, anything you want to say?
No, I think I'm pretty good.
All right, next.
I got nothing.
All right, well, I thank everybody for joining us. Turn Samurai is still in the mix. The artist basically took the first week of January off. You know, so I'll have more for that for you shortly. And echoing. But if you made it this far,
Not me. We found the culprit. No, we didn't.
All right,
It's not me because I'm muted.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I got it. So, if you made it this far, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, please make sure to check out my my Patreon. I'm really trying to get that going. If you subscribe to my Patreon, you'll be able to see stuff early. And you'll also be able to access my digital comic books for free. And then as things get going, we'll be doing more live streams. And then all the ways you can support me, I have a Redbubble where you can buy like merch and t-shirts. So please feel free to do that. And so everyone, thank you for joining me. And remember, I can only show you the door. You're the ones to walk through it.